Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Have you ever felt that your workforce is just taking the brains out as they come through the door and going through the motions without really caring about the work? Well, this week I want to examine what that looks like and how you as a leader and manager should be tackling it. Right, without any more delay, let's get on with this week's show. Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. So happy that you've decided to tune back in this week, and thank you so much for sharing the show and subscribing to the show. Really seeing the metrics start to go in the right direction. Still more you can do though, so this week, if you can, please share the show. I do hope everything's been successful and things are working in the right direction for you. So, this week, it's a bit of a strange subject. I say that every week really, so mainly most of my subjects must be weird, or maybe it's just me. I want to talk about the idea of taking your brain out when you walk through the door. Now, this might be a very English thing, but I've heard this before, but you know, taking your brain out as you go through the door, that I hear that a lot, or I've heard that a lot in the time, whereas people have been able to come to work and they seem to just be kind of drifting through the day. And I was watching a show, you might have seen it, it's called Severance. Ben Stiller directs it. It's an Apple TV show. If you get a chance to watch it, it's very interesting. I've just finished the first series. Second series starts January 2025. I'm not paid by Apple, by the way, but if Apple wants to pay me, that's fine as well. It's called Severance, and the idea of it, the premise of the show, is that people choose, or we think they choose at the minute, to work with this corporation where you have a chip implanted in your brain, and it separates your working life from your home life. So in this instance, the person has this chip put in, and as they go down, they change almost to a point where they can't remember or don't know anything about their outside person, and vice versa. When they come back out of the business, they don't know anything about the person who's been doing the work. So for 8 hours, the person goes in there, the body, everything's there, the mind is on its own, is very much alive. It's not a zombie. But they don't know anything about the outside, and the outside person doesn't know anything about the inside person. It's called severance, and this idea of severing your two consciousnesses. Now, that's an extreme, idea of the future, and who knows what we're going to be doing in the future. But I think there is this case in some work where people are almost doing that anyway. They come to work and they are part of the machine. I mean, it's been like that since, Henry Ford introduced this idea of a production line and people on the line just doing certain tasks that almost they don't need to have the brains. They can come in and just do that repetitive task until the buzzer sounds and they go have a break, and then they come back and they do that repetitive task again. But we're missing so much when that happens, and the businesses I've worked in, which does have quite a lot of repetitive tasks, which they needed to be done. There's nothing wrong with a repetitive task, by the way. I'm not calling anyone. I'm not saying, we should all be knowledge workers and creative people and influencers, whatever the heck one of those is. These are jobs that needed to be done. Now, some of them you would argue that are going to be automated over time and have been automated over time. Packing at the end of lines, if you like, now is very much an automated thing. Robots do much more of it. Case packers that used to be a person there doing that have been replaced. But these jobs need to be done. But the person almost felt like they'd been severanced, they'd been disconnected. They turned up, and for their shift, whatever that shift length would be, they would function at doing that task. They would come in and they would just repeat the task. They seemed happy. Now, in some ways, some managers, going back that I've dealt with, thought that was fine. Those people, that was what they were good at. And they were good at it. We're not taking it away from them. But almost that was it. They were at that level. They couldn't do anything else. That was the way they were. But I would always argue, and I still do, that the person who comes and does the 8-hour shift, putting things in boxes or loading or unloading or whatever that may be, mixing, I'm just using a few examples from my history, actually from outside of work would, run the local rugby team, would be a part of a church group, would be in a band, would do creative art, would be a fisherman, a creative engineer, model makers. all these things that they did outside with so much skill and knowledge that needed to go into it. But they almost separated themselves when they came in. They took the brains out, left them in the cupboard. And what you've got to do as a manager and leader, especially in a very competitive age that we are working in whatever part of the world you're listening to that, you will be competing against somewhere else that'll have lower wages. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, might have different energy demands, so they can charge less. There might be areas where the people's human rights are not as good as yours, or whatever that might be, and you're competing against these ones. Or your products are old. You've got old-fashioned products. They're not modern. You're being left behind in some way. You need those people not to take the brains out and just do the job. You need those people to engage those brains with you. And that is the real art of the manager, who can get those people to commit to being part of the wider business, being part of the ideas to drive out waste. And not drive out waste necessarily to get rid of heads. That's where a lot of continual improvement practices fail, because the first thing they do is take out heads. Well, who's going to bring up great ideas if the next idea is going to lose your job? So you've got to be careful that whenever you're designing a package to bring people on board, to take the brains out of that locker that they leave in and get them to be part of the business and be part of the solution to the problems, is that you don't get rid of their jobs if they do fix it. You help that person become better. You help that job become wider. That's the real art for it. Because if you don't, you are missing a massive amount. And the businesses I've worked in, probably 80%, 85% of the people were actually engaged in the shop floor doing things, or the warehouse, or the engineering, or the technical, or the supply chain, making sure things happened, or the production. And they had such a wisdom that was left out there that needed to be captured and brought in. And the more you start catching them through idea generations, through involving them in creating new businesses and new ideas, the more you get out of them. Remember, every one of those people in that business, most of the time, will be buying some of the things you make. So they are consumers. They're the customers that make the difference at the end. So if you're not involving them and you're not getting them involved in what's happening, you're missing a trick. It's all free information for you. Some of the best things we did in the businesses was to have innovation days where we'd let people go wild. They made the product, but we'd ask them to be creative. What could be the new product? What could be the next thing? What could be the new flavour? What could be the new packaging? What would make things easier in your life? And the number of ideas that came forward that we could then put in to the funnel, if you like, of new innovation was amazing. You'd have paid millions for that through some market research or through some whiz kid who knew everything about everything. But just capturing them, not being this person who came to work, took the brain out, put it in the locker, just functioned for 8 hours, then walked out, put the brain back in and became an intelligent person. Back to my idea of the show Severance, because that's almost what's happening in that show. Not going to spoil it for you. Please watch the show. Brilliant. But yeah, have a think about how you are missing the trick with the talent you've got at work at the minute. Are they just there to fill something, empty something, load something, and you don't think of really capturing the ideas that they could be doing and helping you move your business forward? Making sure that you reward them as well for it. Making sure you give them a chance to be part of that bigger solution, because they're soon going to put the brain back in the locker if the first thing they see is all these shiny new things going to other people and they don't even get a chance to do something. So think about how you reward people for it. But even the idea of them getting involved is quite a nice thing, because they know their stuff. They're clever, intelligent people. They know the markets that they work in. Some of them have side hustles. Some of them will be doing stuff outside of work, which is making them a little bit of money that could unlock something for your business if you give them the chance. So, people coming to work, make sure that they're not taking their brains out and leaving it in the locker. Make sure that they're part of the solutions. Make sure they're part of the problem solving, and make sure you reward them for some of that work you've done. Now, what could reward me? Well, I bet you know what I'm going to say next. Your feedback. As feedback is an amazing gift and it is free, I'd love to hear your feedback on this show, other shows and future shows you'd like to listen to. So if you could email me, it would be brilliant. It's at managermattpodcast@gmail.com. I read and answer every one of them, so if you do send me something, you will get a reply. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.